Hello folks, Brew here. Let's give you a short part 2 for the constructed review of our Devastation set spoilers. And last time I think, skipped this Angela condemnation. Basically, it reminds me of Displacer. And I don't know what the next block, excellent block, will bring. But for a while, you'll be able to do interesting stuff if especially if the meta will be predominantly aggro. That means that some kind of black-white tap out mid-range control will be interesting, because in that deck you'll have um, all your interesting legendaries, including Linvala, which will probably be just in the sideboard. But then again, with this angel in mind, you can do a lot of cool things like blinking that Linvala and things like that, and also Talia's Lancers and the new one that searches you up Planeswalkers. So yeah, this guy, the Jero. So yeah, blinking those will be a lot of value, and you'll have your usual like sweepers and perhaps those free mana reset your left auto to 20 or like wipe the board stuff. Then fumigates, then all your Fatal Blush Grasp of Darkness, so that could be cool. So yeah, and you could once in a while actually, get rid of threats permanently, until this leaves battlefield, right? But that still buys you enough time, so it's kind of like grindy, interesting deck. Right, so let's see. Well, I don't think it has much use for standard. In Eternal formats, that's probably gonna, do some waves. It's just an interesting card. Um, I heard people actually, describing pretty common scenarios when it could be useful in terms of matchups and decks and so on. So watch out. So it's not gonna be a tremendous tool, but it's nice to have something like that around. Swarm Intelligence, well, 7 money is a bit too much, even though the effect is definitely powerful. Is it something worth considering for Eternal formats? Nah, if you can, go Omniscience or stuff like that, you can do much better stuff, I think. This is probably just Commander material. Dream Stealer, well, reminds about Hypnotic Spectre and the like, technically, but I don't know if it will be good enough. Eternalize is nice, so kind of like having a flashback on Hypnotic is interesting. Madness is kind of like flying in a way, though flying was definitely better, and hitting for 2 was definitely better. If you have like some pumps, like, I don't know, Freeman and Issa, then this could be pretty funny. So I think Black-Green Energy and mid-range will be interested in this. Definitely not the Delirium, though in the sideboard maybe, yes. So basically, yeah, sounds like a card that pretty much all flavors of Black-Green could tolerate in the sideboard for slower, grindier matchups. Why not? Well, for Eternal, well, it's certainly interesting. I mean, it has the power. It's kind of weird to have like a zombie just red, but well, we'll see. Like 4 is nothing to sneeze at, that's for sure. And then, well, if you give this flying, or it can be blocked. For example, you have this blue mana cantrip still from Zendikar, so until Excellent comes out, so you can do some really funky stuff with this card. And well, from your hand, what could be so insane that you would want it to cast it for free from your hand? An instance or sorceries. Well, there's probably something. I can't think off the top of my head like something that's ridiculous. I'm not thinking about like this in rain. There's nothing like Cruel Tomato. There's gotta be some ridiculous sorcery that you would wanna cast out of this, and even on occasion without it. Yeah, so interesting card for deck building, definitely. I think it's a sleeper. Right now it's not real obvious how it's gonna be used, but I like it. Hydra. As long as you control desert. So let's say you have one. And let's say you have one in the graveyard, then this is like that tree folk from Zendikar, the Converge one. Um, but then you can play this in a two-color deck at least. Though you'll have to run some deserts, but that's another story. Well, actually, still relevant, but then deserts, they still produce colored mana, and yeah, not having limitation for colors is definitely nice. And then I'm not sure if that tree folk actually had reach. Quite possibly. I know it did have vigilance and trample. So yeah, kinda nice, kinda nice. Kinda dig it. Though whether deserts will be worth for constructed, that's another thing to see later. Well, what else picks to me for constructed? Um, Definitely not the puncher. So excavator is interesting, but I don't know. Um, it could be a hidden slipper. Right now, it doesn't strike to me that much, even with all the cycle lands. It's like if it would say like each turn return a land from your graveyard, like upkeep, return a land from your graveyard to your hand. That would be sick because of cycling lands. I'll actually like that more, I think, but as it stands, I don't quite see it. Perhaps I'm missing something. So, Vile Manifestation speaks to me for new perspectives deck. Perhaps in some other decks, but I'm not so sure. It checks only cycling cards. It's not like the cards you discarded this turn, for example. It just doesn't grow from discards, so it's only cycling. So that's a bit weird, but then again, I don't know. So you played on turn 2, it's a 0-4. Then let's say turn 3, you cycle a couple 1 mana cyclers, that's a 2-4. Could be relevant, could be relevant. Let's see, but as it stands, I only see it in new perspectives as just decent 2-drop to stem the bleeding from now and then. What else? What else for constructed? Because I think I've covered quite a few limited strategies in the sealed primer and in the sealed simulators. So other than those two tapes, I think I'm just gonna concentrate solely on constructed. Well, as this is actually a constructed review. Rizuka's right, well, control seems to be on the rise. Or it not on the rise, I mean amount of tools is rising significantly, which means that people will try it. Whether it will be good enough, that's another story. Right now, I do not have a great opinion about this. I'd say it was decent before, and then in this couple of weeks without Marvel before the hour, well, it's been mainly aggro decks. So let's see. As long as they can, just consistently be able to stem the bleeding, then that's fine, I think. The new 3 mana domination, so to speak, is kind of weird. You skip your untap step, and then they can just play something, crew up the heart, and that's it, or just animate Gideon, things like that. So that's the problem with the this new domination kind of spell. So yeah, Supreme will definitely be in all the blue control decks, as Doomfall in all the black control decks. I think I can guarantee you this. Doomfall is actually interesting because let's say you manage to clear all the small stuff on the board. Uh, I don't know, thanks to some instant spot removals. And then if they have just a Gideon around, you can... I know you can do that, except the creature. Well, I suppose it's mainly against gods, but it's still like great. You just clear up the board till they have like the biggest gun board, um, and they are forced to exile it. But they are probably just having insurance against gods, like for post rotation season. I mean, I'm speaking autumn here. But our strategic planning will be played quite and constructed for sure. It's a little bit weird, but then again, it's kind of like anticipate, except that you get all the grievous synergies going on. And even on the control shell, there will be quite a few. It's a little weird card, so it's not extremely good for control, not extremely good for, I don't know, blue black zombies, for example. But it, it's funny because it might potentially suit not just different decks, but different types of decks. So yeah, I'm happy to see that card around. And what else? Cartoon Velling Beans, I think we'll see some play at some point in constructed, I mean in competitive. It's just bound to have it with all the cycling and discarding around you. Moving on. Nope. And summon is good to have around, so that makes the Enigma Drakes much better and possibly a real thing. Maybe not now, but definitely post rotation. So that's a really good thing to have around, just a cheap spell. And now it's also like really great because of Thing in the Ice and Reveler and all sorts of things. Okay, I think we might even wrap this up this time around, because actually at the beginning we in the spoiler we had a bunch of mythics and so on. Bloodwater Entity, well, I would certainly play these cards after rotation in the spells tempo deck. Right now, maybe not. Only if it would have flash, but then it will be a too ridiculous card maybe. On the other hand, you can first some burn spell with your face, and then play this, and put the burn on top of your deck. So that'll be rather cool. Just buybacking kind of like Noxious Revival for your burn spells. What else can I see? Well, the Unraveler Mummy could see play. I wouldn't be surprised about it. Well, Fair Market will definitely be in control decks that can cast it for sure. So it's probably Consign. Kind of believe in it and construct it, so definitely believe in it. Leave chance. Well, return every target cards you own to your hand. Okay, it's instant speed, right? So that's pretty cool. And then discard the number of cards and draw this many cards. Well, what can I say? It gives hope for some weird combo deck. I don't think New Perspectives needs it, so this will be quite a new deck then that will play it. Refuse Cooperate. Well, deal damage to target spells control equal to that spell's convert mana cost. I could see it being a really cool cyber card against all the control decks when they try to like cast Nicol Bolas and stuff like that. Also in the Nicol Bolas control tap out decks, this would be really cool cards in the sideboard for mirror matches. It's like, okay, let's say they'll get to their spells controller. Right, so you can hold it Nicol Bolas on the stack, refuse, and then counter Bolas. No, why not? It's like 4 mana at instant speed, deal 8 to face. That sounds cool, isn't it? And then you can cooperate it after method and copy something. Like basically, it's like Twincast, so you basically counter their counter if you need to, or just once they go draw some cards, you're like, oh, I would like some cards too. For examples, like when they play, for example, after a market and they forget that you have cooperate, you're like, well, I would like to draw some cards as well. Yeah. Yeah, people already been saying, mostly PV, about claim fame for modern for Grixis Shadow decks. I'm not gonna touch on that, I think enough been said about that. Just makes the deck even more powerful, and that's kind of scary. Reason to believe. Well, it sets up pretty cool things. We could see Sultai ramp with the 5 mana Lily and the new 8 mana Demon and do some really funky stuff. That's been discussed on forums already. Right, Driven Despair until the increase your control, trample, and they'll condemn the player to a card. Yeah, that's real cool. Another cool cards for black green aggro decks and mid range. Plan the turn, increase your control, gain menace, and never discretions condemn the player to play discuss card. Yeah, that's rather cool. So probably could see as a one-off in black green decks against anything slow, or no, I should say rather against mid range. So this will be a really cool card in mid range battles, not against control. Grind Dust will definitely be a cool card for Blackwood midrange or for Esper, probably. Examining number of target creatures that have minus counter number. Yeah, that could be cool. If you're going into Abzan or Esper midrange or control, you probably need to dig up like what actually spreads minus counters to. In addition to this, so that you can dust with more value, so to speak. Abandoned Sarcophagus. Well, I'm not sure if I want this in New Perspectives deck, but it's certainly interesting. Kind of like it. Good Pharaoh's gets interesting, maybe costs a little bit too much, but if there will be a deck that can cast it, I think this card is pretty sick. The zombies also gain haste, by the way, and they stay. It's not like they exile or die at the end of the turn. They remain and they have haste. It's pretty cool, actually. It's a good anti-planeswalker tech too for some mid-range decks, I think. Hollow One would be pretty sick in a lot of decks. When Red-Green Gods Madness discard was discussed, you should refresh your memory and think of those lists and think of this card. But it could be in more than just one deck and one archetype. I think this card is pretty darn cool. Mirage Mirror I'm also a fan of. Copies all sorts of cool stuff. Possibly also a pretty cool card for Eternal Furnace. Just really like it, even though it says like copy until end of turn, but that is still pretty cool. Copying a creature, etc. Yeah, I kind of like that it actually, changes the reflection every now and then. Pretty cool card right now. Can't quite say it, but there are probably a bunch of broken potential scenarios for it. Crude Condemnation would be one pretty common sideboard card, it feels like. If not now, then in the autumn. Amulets might be helping few decks here and there. Crypt is nice to have, of course, like for the Grixis step outs, Necrobolus control decks. What else? Yeah, this rare desert that becomes a free for creature for a turn. That's pretty cool. Kind of dig it. I think if you can, you probably should pre-order a bunch of those. I feel like this card will be quite in demand for a lot of decks. And also, I don't think that the uncommon deserts are particularly interesting, but cards like this, I mean this hostile desert, is the land that's gonna help Eldrazi decks till rotation, for example. It also could possibly be, I'm not sure, could be as a one-off in Eldrazi Tron, perhaps. I'm just not sure how often would you have lands in the graveyard. Well, you will have Ghostwater, which yeah. So I could see some copies in Eldrazi Tron, for example. I mean modern. So that's kind of cool. Not a fan of the first upper row of uncommon deserts, but the second one, the one that cycles, that's going to be pretty interesting. It's interesting also how many you can fit in new perspectives. I'm not sure you will, because it's a 4/5 color deck, and yeah, they cycle with colored cost, so yeah, not sure about it. You probably will place some in Eldrazi, for example, in one red Eldrazi, you can certainly play this uncommon one. Deal to opponent, you can redirect this to a Planeswalker. So that's kind of cool. Mono white Planeswalkers with Gideon will rejoice with the Dunes, for example, the accuracy control. Oh, it's actually gonna be pretty sick in the Catras Monument White Winnie. That's pretty cool. Also, all the black-green aggro decks would definitely be a fan of this Oasis. Yeah. Okay, that's probably it as for constructed. Watch the part number 1 in the playlist, or just scroll down a bit on the channel's feed. And hope you enjoyed this. Don't forget to subscribe, check the links in the description below, leave any comments below, and yeah, until the next sale, goodbye folks.